These stories are almost too weird to believe. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 creepiest coincidences of the century so far. For this list, we're looking at the eeriest instances of serendipity that have taken place since the year 2000. Number 10. The Comet Meteor. According to National Geographic, your odds of being struck and killed by a meteor are about 1 in 1,600,000. So then what are the odds of a meteor hitting your house if your name happens to be Comet? After noticing a leak in their suburban Parisian home, the Comet family discovered that their house had been struck by a very small meteor. The 88-gram piece of meteoroid was likely a piece of a comet or asteroid. Martin Comet said of the accident, quote, "There's something magical, strange about a meteor dropping down on you when you have a name like ours." Number 9. Devon Sawa's Final Destination. Released on March 17, 2000, the horror film Final Destination starred Devon Sawa as Alex Browning, a high schooler who has a premonition that his plane is going to crash and decides not to take the flight.
This is your idea of a joke.
It's not a joke! It's not a joke! Alex, take it easy. It's not a joke. It's going down!
Eventually, his vision turns out to be true. 19 years to the day after the film was released, Sawa tweeted that he happened to be flying that day, and that his flight number was 317. Like March 17th. While many were concerned about the actor tempting fate by flying on that day, he luckily landed safely and all was well. Let's hope death is not out to get him this time.
You look at me as if I caused this. I didn't cause this.
Number 8. Family Connection. After a man named Stephen Lee got engaged to his girlfriend Helen, the couple celebrated with their families. After looking at Stephen's family photos, Helen's mother realized she recognized someone in them. Turns out that she'd actually been engaged to Stephen's father decades earlier when they both lived in Korea in the 60s. Her father hadn't approved of the union and chose someone else for her to marry, the man who would go on to become Helen's father. The fact that Stephen's father had died when he was 17 made this an interesting way for him to get to know more about his dad's life. Number 7. Two-time hero. Back in the 80s, a man named Xu Weifeng living in China's Jiangsu province jumped into the river near his home to save a drowning man. Decades later, in 2018, Weifeng was 80 years old and still lived in the area. One day, he heard a cry for help and found an 8-year-old boy also at risk of drowning. He saved the youngster, but when he learned his identity, things got eerie. It turns out the boy was actually the son of the man who Weifeng had saved 3 decades earlier. Number 6. The Circle of Life. On November 23, 1936, the first issue of the newly reformatted Life magazine was published. The first photo to appear inside the publication was an image of a delivery room captioned "Life Begins," featuring a baby boy. That baby was George Story, a man who happened to grow up to be a journalist. On April 4, 2000, Story died from heart failure at the age of just 63. What's eerie about this is that just days earlier, Life announced it would be ceasing publication. His widow was interviewed for the final edition of the magazine, which was published the following month. Number 5. The Twins. We all know that twins have a special connection, but this story takes it to the next level. In northern Finland in 2002, a 70-year-old man was riding his bike when he was hit by a truck and killed. 2 hours later, another man was hit and killed on the very same road, less than a mile away. That's already a coincidence, but what makes it almost unbelievable is that the men were actually twin brothers. Considering the family hadn't yet been informed of the first man's death, it's likely his brother was killed without even knowing what had occurred. Number 4. Frightful Flight. Lots of people are afraid of flying, and plenty of others have superstitions about flying on Friday the 13th. If you're even the tiniest bit prone to interpreting signs and omens, you probably would not have departed on Finnair's Flight 666, which left on Friday, October 13, 2017.
The Daily Mail notes the pilot of Flight 666 certainly wasn't bothered by the ominous date. It has been quite a joke among the pilots. I'm not a superstitious man, it's only a coincidence for me.
Not only did it feature the number of the devil, but the flight's destination, Helsinki, whose airport code is abbreviated to hell.
Seems unlucky?
Yep.
Good news, guys. Everybody made it there safely. What? Everybody was just fine. And this isn't the first time that this airline has done this either. They have flown 21 times on Friday the 13th in the last 11 years.
The flight arrived safe and sound without incident, but you would not have caught us on board if you paid us. Number 3. Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page. In June of 2007, pro-WWE wrestler Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page was edited to say that his wife Nancy had died. The edit was quickly removed because of a lack of sourced information. Things like this happen all the time, but what makes this instance notable is that 14 hours later, police entered the Benoit family home to find Nancy, Chris, and their son dead.
World Wrestling Entertainment says Benoit failed to show for 2 live events over the weekend, and apparently at least one suspicious text message sent to friends prompted wrestling officials to send police to his house.
The anonymous writer of the wiki entry edit says that it was just a bizarre coincidence, but you can't help but wonder whether someone actually knew about the crime before the bodies were found.
Just so many questions tonight, though. Such a disturbing story and such a terrible and tragic ending.
Number 2, death-defying cyclist. 29-year-old Martin de Jonge is a Dutch cyclist who often travels for biking trips. But he also has a remarkable streak of good luck. He claims he's managed to evade plane crashes on 2 separate occasions by deciding to take a different flight. He had purchased a ticket for Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, which was ultimately shot down from the sky, but changed it for a less expensive one. He'd also considered taking flight MH370, which notoriously was lost over the Indian Ocean, but decided to skip it to avoid a long layover.
What happened to the flight has haunted the world ever since.
We're not used to planes just disappearing. If they come down, we expect to be able to find out why.
We're not sure what kind of sixth sense he has, but he should learn how to bottle it.
That Dutch cyclist, he still plans to board Malaysia Air for his next flight, saying despite his 2 close calls, I got lucky twice. It will go well a 3rd time.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Simpsons foresaw Trump's presidency. The Simpsons may just be a cartoon, but it has turned out to be surprisingly prophetic. The long-running animated show has famously predicted many world events, but none is more notable than the election of Donald Trump as President of the United States.
Again, it's my honor. It was an amazing evening. It's been an amazing 2-year period. And I love this country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
In a season 11 episode that aired all the way back in 2000, the world of The Simpsons actually saw a Trump presidency.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
We're broke.
Now, while it seems shocking, there is actually a somewhat logical reason, which is that Trump actually did explore running for president in 2000. Still, who could have seen it coming back then that it would come true 16 years later?
Simpsons predicted the future shot by shot because we're part of the Illuminati.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.